I take this drink, I'll be walking away. 'Cause there's so many things I probably shouldn't say. It's been a long day and I don't wanna try to say everything that's on my mind.
Hey guys, back again with War Movies Volume 3. Hope you guys are liking this. I haven't got a ton of views on these, but something, you know, a genre that I'm pretty into. I like a lot and stuff. So, without further ado, hey, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when we had VHS, and you'd get a really fucking long movie, and it came in not one VHS tape, but two. Yeah. So these are a couple box. You might want to call these a box set because they're fucking thick. Yeah. Anyway, this is Gettysburg. I picked this VHS up. Oh shit! I'm trying to remember what year it was now. So it would have been my 8th grade. So around, I believe, 96 or 97. Yeah. Somewhere in there. I think 97, I want to say. Yeah, it was 97. Anyway, so 1997, I visited back east. I went to Gettysburg, I went to Fredericksburg, I went all over the place over there, all over the DC area and stuff, visiting my aunt and went sightseeing and that kind of thing. And you know, growing up, I was always into the Civil War, and you know, going there and seeing Gettysburg and stuff like that just made it worse. I mean, I was totally into it. And I hadn't seen this movie, but I was like, you know, I'm going to buy it. And being as young as I was, I didn't realize the caliber of cast this movie had. You know, I just thought it was a great movie, you know. I enjoyed it. Long as fuck, but an amazingly good movie. Anyway, you got people the likes of Tom Berenger, Martin Sheen, Stephen Lang, Jeff Daniels, Sam Elliott, and the list just goes on. I mean, it blew me away because, you know, I've always been a kind of a Tom Berenger fan, but I never realized General Longstreet was fucking Tom Berenger. He's got this big old fucking bushy beard and shit, and just, I believe one of his pictures is one of the pictures in the beginning of my entry there. He's just got this big huge gray beard. I mean, just they did him up, just fucking awesome. Martin Sheen plays an amazing Robert E. Lee, very passive, very, you know, quiet, spiritual man, but yet an amazing strategist, which that was what Robert E. Lee was. He was, you know, he was a Virginian. He was not fighting on the Confederate side. He was fighting on the side of the Virginians. That's the way he looked at it. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't a die-hard, you know, Confederate or whatever, but he fought for Virginia and his home. So anyway, you know, Sam Elliott's in there, and I just love Sam Elliott. He's just awesome. He, yeah, plays General Buford, or yeah, Brigadier General Buford. That can't say that. But anyway, just awesome. You know, the amount of time and money they put into this movie with all the scenes with just hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, you have to do Pickett's charge. You had to have this just massive line of people because this I believe 3,000 or 5,000 people. I can't remember. I could be off on those numbers. Did this mile-and-a-half march or some goddamn thing, some god-awful long march in open field, just taking artillery fire and everything else, and just got blown to bits. I mean, it was just honestly pretty dumb, but it was like Lee's last push to try to, you know, win the battle, but I mean, really, Gettysburg was the breaking point and the turning point in the war. I mean, up to that point, the Confederacy was really kicking ass. But after the loss of General Stonewall Jackson at Chancellorsville, shortly before this, Lee felt like he lost his right hand, or his right arm or whatever, because, Stonewall Jackson was his right-hand man. But anyway, here's a good picture that's Tom Berenger, dude. Seriously, that is Tom Berenger. That is amazing, isn't it? You're like, what the fuck? And then there's Jeff Daniels. Just freaking amazing. And there's Charlie Sheen and Sam Elliott. But just amazing likenesses and everything else. I mean, just if you're into history, if you're into the Civil War at all, and you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. I mean, if you can find it on DVD, great. I've honestly never looked for it on DVD. I've just always had this copy. I've actually had not watched this movie in years, but it is one of my all-time favorites, and it's honestly one of the best Civil War movies ever made. Probably the best. But anyway, moving along to another thick box set, Son of the Morning Star. This is about General George Armstrong. Excuse me, that's a mouthful. General George Armstrong Custer. There we go. And his battle with the Sioux and taking over Montana, pretty much. But anyway, really good movie. Gary Cole plays Custer, and Rosanna Arquette plays his wife. You have other actors. Let's see, Stanley. I'm going to say this wrong. Alderson plays Grant, and Rodney Grant plays Crazy Horse. I mean, those are kind of the major people in this. This movie doesn't have the cast that Gettysburg did, but still, in its own, I mean, granted, it's not a Civil War movie, but in its own right, it stands right up there with a great war movie, as being one of the better war movies. Made in 1991, or released in 1991, I believe, yeah. It just kind of goes through Custer's life and up to his death, and, how he treated the Indians and everything else, and how he always broke his promises, and he was just, kind of a douche. But the funny thing is you guys all watch Talladega Nights, right? The dad in Talladega Nights? Right there, buddy. That cracks me up. When I saw Talladega Nights, I'm like, holy shit, it's Custer. He lived! But anyway, yeah. No, really good movie. The scenes in the fight, or the battle scenes in this were really well done. A lot of cool, arrows getting stuck in people's heads and eyes and all over their bodies and stuff. I mean, it's got good action for what it is, for a war movie, for being an older movie and stuff like that. This is it's not one of my. It is one of my favorites, but it's not one of my top favorites. But it is, in its own right, a very good movie. So I highly recommend checking it out. If you're, like I said, if you're interested in history, this one is a really good, close depiction of Custer's life, and it follows suit really well with, what I've read in history books and stuff on how his life went. And this guy was in a serious military crisis with himself, I guess. The guy was miserable without a company, and stuff. And so it just shows his struggles, with his own demons and stuff like that throughout his life. But anyway, really good movie. If you're into this kind of thing, I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Find it on DVD. I'm sure you can. Thanks, guys.